A lot of people ask if it's safe to lift weights when you have lower back pain. Well, it's not only safe if you do it right, it's actually a crucial part of overcoming lower back pain permanently. The problem is that people often make their lower back pain much worse after lifting weights, which is why so many people are afraid of it. But it's not the exercise that's bad, it's how you performed it. If you lift too much weight or with poor technique, you can make your lower back pain much worse. And so the solution is technique optimization with the most effective resistance training exercises using progressive overload. And the first thing to understand is how load tolerance affects all this. Imagine this cup represents your load tolerance, and the water that goes in is the load. Now, load is basically anything that puts load on your lower back. So carrying shopping, anything that you pick up, going to the gym, doing a workout, sitting at a desk all day long, it all puts load on your lower back. So sitting at the desk all day long, that's some load on my lower back. Carrying the shopping up the stairs, there's some load on my lower back. And then I go to the gym and I do a workout, and before you know it, too much. All right, well, that was much too much load. But you know the cool thing? If you go to the gym for long enough, you can increase the size of your cup. So now that same amount of load that used to cause you unmanageable lower back pain, it barely even fills your cup up. And you know what happens after a while? If you train for long enough, you'll go from a cup this size to a cup this size. Somebody like me, my cup looks more like a bucket. And this is why resistance training is so important, because it's lifting weights that changes your cup from this to this. Because if you avoid lifting weights, you're avoiding the activity that's going to increase your cup size, and your cup's going to stay here. You're going to keep overflowing it, and when it overflows, the system breaks down. That's when you have to start going to get sports massagers and physical therapists. And we all know that all that is really just a band-aid solution. It's not a long-term permanent solution for lower back pain. Hey, if you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. And if you're getting value out of this video, like it and subscribe to my channel. And if you've got any friends or family that suffer lower back pain that you think would benefit this, please share it with them. It might be the thing that really changes their life. But so many of us have such a bad experience going to the gym lifting weights. It's the thing that caused the pain, right? It's not the exercise that's the problem though, it's how you performed it. Or it's that you put too much load on your lower back. So what does that look like in a specific exercise? Let's use a deadlift, for example. A deadlift is by far one of the most important exercises that you can do to increase your load tolerance from this to this when it comes to lower back pain. So if you avoid it, you're avoiding the number one exercise that you really need to be doing. So where do you go? Because so many people go to the gym, they do deadlifting, and they come out with excruciating lower back pain. And then they blame deadlifting for it. But either one of two things has really happened. Number one, you either lifted with poor technique, or number two, you lifted too much load. And load at the gym is basically a combination of intensity and volume. Intensity is how much weight you lifted, which is probably the thing that most people get wrong. So lifting, 150 pounds when they really should be, lifting 45 pounds. And then volume is how much you did. So how many sets and how many reps. And the combination of those two things is load. So how do we optimize technique for something like a deadlift? Well, start with an unloaded bar. Don't worry about weight at all. And if that's even still too much or it scares you, then just grab a dowel rod and put a couple of little, 5-pound weights on each side. So you're only lifting 10 pounds. And focus 100% on the technique. You could also do this with an empty barbell, so 45 pounds. And what you're going to do is just start in the upright position, so standing up. And then you're just going to break at the hips so that the bar comes down over the center of your feet until you get just below the knees, and then you'll come back up again. So you get used to this idea of the bar moving up and down. And then when you're ready, you can put some weight plates on. So use some Olympic plates so it sits the right height off the ground. Walk up to the bar and stand with your shins vertical, touching the bar. Grab onto the barbell, so feet just under the hips. Hands grip the bar shoulder width apart. Pull the shoulders down in the back pocket. Keep the shins vertical, and then push your knees out and push the ground away from you so you stand straight up and the bar comes up vertically and then back down vertically over the center of the foot. Now this is just an example for the deadlift, right? We've got all these other exercises that you can do, and if the deadlift is too much, which it is for a lot of people, even the deadlift might not be the best place to start. You can start with something like a shoulders elevated hip thrust. that's a great place to start with lower back pain, because it's really hard to do wrong. And it doesn't, like, if you mess up a deadlift with technique, with poor technique. So a key way that people mess it up is that they let the barbell travel over the toes. That puts exponentially more force on the lower back, and not in a good way either, in a lateral way. And that can cause a lot of problems. It's really hard to do that with the shoulders elevated hip thrust. So you can really work on building up your load tolerance in the glutes and the posterior chain and the lower back with an exercise that is relatively safe. Once you've optimized technique and the weightlifting movements that you're going to use, the next thing is to use progressive overload. And progressive overload is basically the process of gradually increasing the load that you're lifting, so the combination of intensity and volume, so that your body adapts to it. If you go too fast too soon, that's when you cause problems. And so many people get this wrong. It's really important that you just take your time. So a great way to look at progressive overload is, if you were doing a shoulders elevated hip thrust, you're going to do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. So what that means is, whatever weight you choose, let's say you're going to start with 45 pounds, so it's just an unloaded barbell, and you do 3 sets of 8 reps. And then the next workout, you do 3 sets of 9 reps and 3 sets of 10, and then you get up to 3 sets of 12 reps, and then you add a bit of weight onto the barbell. So you put 2.5 pounds or 5 pounds on each side, and then you drop back to the 8 rep range, and then you work up from 8 reps back up to 12 reps, and then keep repeating that process. That's progressive overload. Another thing to remember is that range of motion is also a variable for load. So if you're doing something like a Romanian deadlift or a stiff leg deadlift, the angle that you bend forward at the hip is something that you can progressively overload as well. So if you're really afraid of injuring your lower back, because you should always only work the pain-free range, you shouldn't work into the range where it causes you pain. So if these were your legs, this is your hips, this is your shoulders, you know, if you just went down to a 45-degree angle and you worked that range, and then in the next workout you went down to a 50-degree angle, then a 55, then a 60, and you slowly got down to that 90-degree angle, or close to 90 degrees, that's a way that you can progressively overload as well. So it's not just intensity and volume, it's also range of motion that is something that you can manipulate. And the same thing with the squat. That's why we use things like a low bar barbell box squat, or even a high bar barbell box squat, because you can manipulate your range and you can make sure that you're always hitting that same range, and then you can, you know, increase the range as your load tolerance increases. And take your time with all this. You really don't need to rush. If you could imagine, I like to tell people to be 1% better every day. And if you could imagine, even when we're talking about something like lower back pain, if you could be 1% better every workout, if you did these kinds of workouts twice a week, and you really should do, because the way that progressive overload works and using super compensation, if you look at this graph, the optimal time to get your next dose of exercise is 48 to 72 hours after the last time you did a workout on the same muscle group, so that you're capitalizing on super compensation. Then if you were doing a workout for your lower back to reduce lower back pain twice a week, and every single workout you got better 1% at a time, after 12 weeks you'd be 24% better. That might look like nothing. You might look back on 12 weeks and think, oh God, I really haven't come that far. But imagine if that never changed. Imagine if you were better by 1% in every single workout and you never went backwards. Can you wrap your head around that? Like, yeah, maybe in 12 months, you're going to be twice as good as you are now, but you're never going back. And I can tell you from experience, I've got spondylolisthesis in L4 and L5. I've got a pars fracture there as well. I had a really nasty injury when I was serving in the military as an infantry soldier. And I suffered crippling lower back pain. Like, I was on painkillers all the time. And that was 12 years ago. I'm 44 now, and I've got absolutely no pain at all because of this 1% better every workout concept. Trust me, it really works. And if you want to try it, if you want to get better, if you want to know how can I put all this together, try this workout. You can do it at home. It takes 15 minutes. You don't need any equipment. If you click or tap the screen right there, join in with me in this real-time follow-along workout. And if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in that video.